In its ongoing effort to be more diverse, the New York Times recently hired a sassy young tech writer named Sarah Jeong to appear on its editorial pages starting in September. But a check into her social media background discovered some of her musings had racist overtones, prompting some observers to claim the Times has a double standard when it comes to what is acceptable opinion. She writes about IT law and is the author of The Internet of Garbage, a nonfiction book about online harassment.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jeong, and I'm a journalist by trade, but I wasn't always a journalist.
She is now, and she's about to hit the big time on the New York Times editorial pages, despite the fact that her opinions have come back to haunt her as the Twittersphere dug up some old tweets like these. I was equating Trump to Hitler before it was cool. Oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men. Or this, hashtag cancel white people. Some of Jeong's critics come from the usual places.
People are getting fired for far less than this across corporate America right now, but the New York Times decided to double down on Sarah Jeong's behalf.
But even more middle-of-the-road critics have their doubts.
Can you imagine the Times hiring anybody who used that kind of language against a Democrat, a liberal? I mean, would the Times be offering these justifications? That person would be gone.
Jeong says her tweets were satire and that she was mimicking her own online harassers. The New York Times says that Sarah understands that this type of rhetoric is not acceptable at the Times. Understood. But would a white guy calling for the cancellation of black people be given the same opportunity? You be the judge. I can tell you this, I'm not going to fall into the trap of calling her racist, because that's the term that I feel is tossed around way too loosely anyway. Having watched the large majority of that talk she gave there, she's struggling so hard to be clever, and it's not funny at all. And I think some of what she was intending to do was supposedly humor-based, because she was intending to make fun of some online harassers who had said some horrible things about her. But that has nothing to do with what is decidedly a double standard on the part of the New York Times. I mean, they have fired people for lesser crimes, or not put them on, once they've discovered some of these background things. Oh, no, we can't touch that. So it's fine in hindsight to say, you can't say those things once you start working for us. But my point is, there are other people who have said those kinds of things that never would have gotten that kind of opportunity. Anybody want to take that on?
No, I agree with you there. I think this is troubling. I suppose, though, my quick reaction to this whole controversy is she is such a product of her generation. Yeah. We have, I know we see this, our students or our recent graduates, and we tell them, you need to scrub your Twitter accounts, your Facebook accounts, because those things you said when you were 17 or 18 or 19 and thought were clever, or maybe when you had been to one too many frat parties, are not going to look so clever when you're 25 and you're looking for that first or second or third job. And she, I think, is in many ways
She even
falling
talks
into
in
that.
question marks. She, every sentence ends in a question mark,
yes.
which you can't see in print, luckily for her. Classic, no offense, millennial.
I would say, just following up on what Tom said, you can't erase all that stuff. Let's hashtag Joy Reid on that, remember? Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where we're in a situation like this. So I think one of the key things to remember is that she was not always a journalist. So we have in the group of people who have been sanctioned for old tweets, people who always were journalists and should know better, and some, like her, to your point, millennial sort of opinion persons who are now being brought into the ranks of journalism and said, now these are your new rules. So we can discuss whether or not now it's a problem.
She's pretty much been a journalist all along. No, the thing that followed that, did you watch that tape? She says,
of course I did.
I was a human
I'm not,
infant.
So
stupid.
Let's not even go
I know,
there.
but she wasn't even saying she never even mentioned that law school or anything. She said she hadn't gone to law school.
So
it was stupid.
Let's agree it's stupid. Okay, so my point is that they are going to have to, I think, because people are going to go back and look at what did you do for this one and that one and figure out what is their policy. Right now, I would say it's fair to say they're not quite sure. Or maybe their policy is we decide case by case. I don't know. But either way, they should be kind of clear about it.
It clearly looks case by case to your point. I mean, I think, you got to hold her to the same standard you'd hold Alex Jones to. If you look at a lot of her tweets...
Alex Jones, not a journalist, but go on. Yeah.
If you look at a lot of the timeline and her quotes of her tweets, they're late at night when perhaps judgment is impaired. I think what you need with someone on an editorial page is someone who has clear judgment and someone who is not going to be hiding something in their closet. So in this case, I think what you have is someone who came out and said, this is how I am and this is how I feel about people. Now she has to prove that she can be a thoughtful thinker.
I agree.
I agree with the generational critique. I also agree with her explanation that a lot of this was satirical. She had been subjected to some pretty nasty trolling on Twitter, and I think that she felt that in some way she was getting back. There are double standards involved. There is hypocrisy involved. At the end of the day, a lot of this is about business, and that the Times has made a decision that she's going to be good for what they do, and I'm sure that they've asked her to start behaving herself from this point forward. But I think it's probably the right call not to hold her past against her here.
I'm pretty sure she has no runway. Other people might have some. No, I'm saying other people might have a little bit of runway to try some things, and I don't think she has any, given all the attention that this
and the analogous situation here for the Times is Quinn Norton.
Yes, that's
right.
In fact, I almost think that Sarah Jeong, is that how you pronounce her name? Sarah Jeong was hired for the position that they were going to hire.
And they didn't give him a
Norton
chance
for
because
her. And what Sarah Jeong has done is a lot less incendiary than what Quinn Norton was doing.
And one last point.
Wait a minute.
Satire is just, people do not, you just don't throw around satire. There is real satire, and then there's people making a statement and then going, funny, or if that's what I meant by satire. It really isn't.
I think, just a quick point. Editorial boards, an individual member of an editorial board does not have the ability to then speak as an individual for the institution. Editorial boards by nature are collegial, so her role is going to be one voice in a large choir. Ultimately, where does that even fit in with where the Times positions has been? So her ability to be provocative and controversial in this way is going to be extremely
I don't know. I think,
I think that's really what they're looking for.
I think they want her to be.
I agree with you, Emily.
Believe me, they're going to. Who said no runway?
Me.
Yes,
no.
that's
I think they want her to be.
She can see the jets flying overhead right now.